Hi, it's Deirdre Vervo. Thanks for chiming in to Let's Talk Seniors, Memory Care Issues, Alzheimer's, Dementia, and Parkinson's. I'm your host, Deirdre, and I'm also the owner of Just Like Home, where we have two lovely homes, Dogwood Home and Long Hill Home, for seniors with memory care issues. Today, we have a fabulously special guest. I met her at a trade show, had no idea there was even such a thing that she does. And I think you're going to be amazed and impressed as well. She's an impressive person herself, but also what she does is impressive. So we have Stephanie Jennings here today, and she's a registered nurse. She's actually a board certified nurse coach as well, who has worked in geriatrics, hospice care, home care management, research, and emergency medicine. She saw a need and made it her purpose to succeed where the healthcare system has failed. Her goal is to help people by providing holistic care, support, and motivation so that they can meet their full health potential. Stephanie saw that the healthcare system works a lot on sick care instead of preventative care, and she wanted to change that. Uh, Thus, she came up with Beyond the Surface Health and Wellness Coaching. And she offers nurse coaching, which combines her passion for nursing skills to truly enact change. She loves what she does, and that shines through. She cannot wait to be of service to all who want her. So if you're looking to prevent getting ill, or if you have a family illness that runs in your family, diabetes, cancer, anything you want to avoid, and you think, gee, I don't want to wait till that happens to me. What can I do to avoid it? You're going to want to know Stephanie. So without much further ado, here we are, Miss Stephanie Jennings. How are you?
I'm doing okay, DJ. How are you doing this morning?
Good. You have just quite an impressive resume, but
Yeah.
let's start off with exactly what a nurse coach is, because when I met you, I was like, this is fascinating. What is that?
So it is up and coming. I myself, it is a course. So I myself signed up for the course late December 2022. I think it started about 10 years ago, kind of this profession. It's kind of stemmed from nurses. We're all in the same situation where we've been frustrated with healthcare and we wanted to do more for our patients. So we tried to figure out how can we do that? Um, and of course, there's a lot of health and wellness coaches out there. But who better, more in a position than nurses who have kind of lived it, seen it, felt it, breathed it? Here we are to help you. So it is an actual certification. It's under the American Holistic Nurses Board Association. So we
Hmm.
are certified. You know, we do the course, we get our hours, we get the training, and then we are certified nationally as board certified nurse coaches.
So I love that you want to help people prevent illness and injury. Um, what kind of things, how do you help do that?
Um, Well, I'm finding, as a coach, you do learn. Every client is different, and I'm learning more and more that there's such a lack of education to
Mm,
patients and clients, and that is a big key. Whether it just be from, let's say, someone they're predisposed to diabetes or hypertension, um, they don't even know what foods to shy away from, how to exercise, how to have a daily routine so that you can avoid
mm,
going in that path. I have found patients who, had abnormal tests. Their doctors told them that they were abnormal, but they had no idea what that meant. They had no idea what the
mm.
result meant and how that affected them. Um, so as a coach, everyone is a little different and their path. For me, I'm finding that education is very big. So I'm also in conjunction with the nurse coaching, I'm also getting certified in nutrition, exercise training, just so I can, again, holistically help my clients.
I love that. I hear too often, and I'm sure you do. Well, my this is what my doctor told me to do, and they're just like going along with it, not researching it for themselves, not figuring out if there's a different path or a more holistic path.
Right,
Something like you don't have to treat with medicine.
right.
My dad, for instance, was diabetic, and he took 26 pills a day. I used to like cake every day, but like he could have been doing things that were different, that were his brother also had diabetes, but he was into diet and exercise. And my father was like, no, my doctor just told me to take this medicine.
Yeah, yeah.
Really did. So, what can we do to people sometimes think whatever their doctor says, but doctors aren't always looking are not even often looking at a holistic approach like you are.
Right, right. And I always tell people, I work in conjunction with your doctor. I'm never going to tell you to do something that your doctor, tells you not to. But, my choice is, okay, the doctor said that you should go on this medicine. Can we go a month seeing if you can work on diet and exercise and maybe you won't need it? You know,
Mm-hmm.
before just jumping to the easy prescription and I'm going to write you this and you take this, let's try some other interventions first. And so I'll just give an example. I had a patient who um, doctor wanted to put her on Ozempic, which fine, that's a really big drug nowadays.
What is it?
So Ozempic,
What
I'm
is,
sorry, it's an insulin. It's a diabetic medication, but it's to help with weight loss.
oh, okay. Yeah.
But it's not being prescribed just for diabetics. It's actually being prescribed for a lot of people who are overweight. Which again, if people want to go that route, that's totally fine. But she had already been making progress, eating better, exercising, and she felt different. And so I asked her, before going this route, why don't you try for a month eating healthy, doing this clean diet? You're obviously on the right step. Let's try this. You may not even
Yeah.
need this medication. Let's see. Um,
Yeah.
and I find people need sometimes to be accountable to someone when you're doing it on your own.
Mhm. Oh, yes.
Just using the
Yeah.
example of your dad, he liked that cake and that's awesome. Cake, I'm not going to tell someone don't eat cake, but can
Mhm.
we eat cake once a week as opposed to once a day? Knowing
Oh,
that you have to meet with me next week and we set a plan that, you only have that cake once a week and I want to check in on you, make sure you do it. Um,
so you,
so
you set up a nutrition plan with people as well?
I kind of help, I educate. So I'm still working on my certification for that. So we'll get that. That's coming soon.
Mm,
But
awesome.
as a nurse, I can still educate people on. A lot of people don't even know how to read like ingredient list. What our daily percentages is. This calorie count is just for this serving size. If you look at how many servings are in a package, there's 5. You
Right.
should only be having this port. You know what I mean? Um, like I said, it comes down to just educating people. There's a high salt content. Maybe you can choose something else that has a lower content.
Yeah.
So making people aware of those things and making better choices is really important.
That's so true. Like I love nuts and like the portion of nuts is like 5 and
Yeah.
I eat like 50. So I'm like, wow, that's not the
Yeah.
portion you're supposed to be eating, right?
Yeah.
But so how do people you do a lot via telehealth. So
Mhm.
tell me how telehealth works.
So it is a HIPAA compliant network. HIPAA, of course, is keeping your personal healthcare information private. So it's called Doxy. A lot of actually doctors and providers do use it. So it's a link. I send it to you. We arrange a time to meet. Usually we book through correspondence, whether it be email or you call me, and we meet. Our scheduled time, I don't like to limit it to just an hour. Usually I give people our visit will be about an hour. If it needs to be longer, that's fine.
So
Um,
in that hour, people are giving you their personal health history or they're telling you like, I don't know, I'm having hot flashes or I'm having like, what are they telling you? Like, what are you doing in the hour?
So we have before I even really start working with someone, I have an introductory visit, which if someone were to see on my website, I have 2 free sessions. In that 2 sessions, I gather history about you.
Okay.
I also send them, even prior to meeting, I send them a little form just saying, what are the healthcare issues that you're having? What are your goals? Where do you want to be? Um, what are you looking for in a coach? How can I be of service to you? So even before meeting the person, I already have kind of like a little bit of background on them. Um, in that first visit, mainly, I'm getting all the history. I'd like to know the medications. I like to know your last labs. I like to know when you had your lab work, what doctors you're seeing, and again, just kind of it's client centered. So I want to know where they want to be. So
Mhm.
looking at everything they have, and then we try to establish goals from there. I tell people, I don't want anyone to get overwhelmed. So we have as a nurse coach, even in the course, we were trained a lot on agreements versus expectations. So we say, let's set a goal until our next visit, but this is you centered. This is your goal. So I'm here
Okay.
to help you.
I
Um,
like that.
so I'll just, I'll give an example. I had a client who she does great with exercise, diet, not so much. And she was one that didn't like look at the ingredients and just kind of like threw stuff together. So I'm like, okay, you're kind of missing the protein aspect. You're kind of missing the veggies aspect. You're having some issues with this and this. How can you incorporate that in your diet? So she was like, she thought about it. It took her a minute. And she's like, okay, so every day I'll try to incorporate an extra salad in my diet. I'll try to incorporate these veggies or this protein. So I said, okay, awesome. What can prevent you from meeting that goal? And so she gave some examples to like, oh, how can you overcome that goal or overcome that obstacle? Um, and so I checked in with her maybe midway through the following week. The next week we met, and she hit it even better than what I had expected. Um, and she knew that she was accountable to me that next week. She knew she was going to
Mm.
meet with me, and that I was checking in
Yeah,
on her.
that's big.
Yeah,
That's
and
big.
she did awesome. So seeing things like that really encourages me. Coming from a background of ER, I only really see that person that one snippet of sickness. I gave them what they needed to get through, either discharge them to follow up with someone else, or they went to admitted, and I never often get to see the positive effect of what we do. Um,
Nice.
so that it gives me gratification too to see them progress, and yeah, that's why I love what I do.
I could tell you love what you do, Stephanie.
I do love what I do.
So what who would be like best served by you? Like what do you think you could do? Who can you serve the best? Like if you said to yourself, wow, I wish I had all these people, I would tell them this. Like what is that
Um,
category? I
I
know
would
you could
probably
serve people, but yeah.
yeah, I would probably say mostly women. Women, I would say between their late 30s to 50s, 60s. That time period is because that's when most are going through the change. Either they're peri, or postmenopausal, and they've seen a change in their shift in their health. Um,
Mm.
and that's kind of a critical time too, because you're seeing yourself gain weight, you're seeing your shape lose form, you're seeing your strength go down. It's discouraging, and then that's kind of a critical time where you need to eat better, exercise better, because you will lose that strength if you don't keep that good pace up. So typically that's probably the audience that I work with,
Hmm.
mostly.
And do people come to you and say like, "Oh, my doctor told me I'm pre whatever and I need help," or like arthritis issues, or what kind of issues can you help with the most?
So my other profession is I'm a CrossFit coach. So I have a dang on a lot of things. So I've had women come up to me in their 40s and 50s, and they're like, man, I notice that I'm not as strong as I used to be. I had
Mhm.
one person say, like, I even opening a jar of pickles, she's like, I noticed that my strength is gone. And so I asked her, just to get a baseline, have you talked to your doctor about like hormonal testing, where you are, where your levels are? And it didn't even really dawn on her. So I was like, well, maybe just get a baseline to see. Um, and then from there we can work on, you have to work differently as you get older. What you used to exercise and do when you were younger, it doesn't work all the time. I
Mm.
shouldn't say that. It doesn't work all the time. Sometimes you have to change and modify certain things, and they may seem tedious, but those small exercises every day can help strengthen those weaknesses that you're starting to see. So, someone who is experiencing that, someone who may be experiencing the weight gain that comes with hormonal changes, you unfortunately do have to change the way you eat. Your body doesn't process and metabolize like it used to. So, eating things that are better served to your age and circumstance can also be a big help too. So, that's kind of what I work with.
So you see a lot of people telehealth, but if they wanted to see you one on one in person, how does that work?
So I do my home base, I like to say, if you want to meet me in person, is at the gym that I work at. It's in Bedford Hills, New York.
Hmm.
If you want to meet me in its more Connecticut way, I would probably prefer more of a public central location. Um, we can meet at a cafe if you want. That's more comfortable. If you want to do more exercise, we can meet at a gym locally to you. So it's always arrangeable. You just have to contact me. We'll work it out.
So if
Um,
somebody belongs to a gym already, they can have
mhm.
you come there, Stephanie.
Absolutely.
Oh,
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's
and you
not a
could show
problem.
them different things for their what's
For
going on with
movement,
them. So
increasing
are there
movement mobility.
so do people come to you like with a bad back or things like that and they need, you know, bad back or I don't know, joint issues?
I'm probably going to be honest. So I'm not injury based. That's not my expertise. I can refer you. That's the other thing how a nurse coach works is if there's something that's above my level of expertise, I can help you get to where you need to go. So
Okay.
at the gym that I work at, there are those who work in injury prevention, or I'm sorry, those who have injuries. So you could just work in conjunction with the coaches that are already there. Um,
Mhm.
I'm more helping preventing you to get to that point. If you've already hit that point, unfortunately, I don't want to make it worse. I know that's above my expertise. So I'm going to show you where you need to go for that.
That's awesome. So are you working with like doctors that are sending you people or people, that just know that their patient, let's say, or their person could be heading down the wrong path and they're like, you know what, you need some
Yeah.
help. I think I'll call Stephanie.
So I'm still, it's actually interesting you say that. I'm still kind of in the networking phase. I actually meet later today with a functional nutritionist who
Hmm.
works in conjunction with coaches like I'm also meeting with a function. I also love functional medicine. That's my other love. Um, a
What does
functional
that mean?
practitioner.
Functional medicine mean?
So functional looks at it's holistic, so it looks at the person as a whole. So let's say someone has this symptom that's related to their thyroid, um, but it looks like it's also linked to this, to another aspect. So what typical medicine does, they usually look at the symptom and they fix the symptom without actually fixing the cause. Functional medicine uses works to fix the cause. Um, and so I've worked with some practitioners before in the past and how they work and think. They don't just do the typical blood work. It's, well, this also affects it. So let's order this as well because that could also be an issue. So they are much more well-rounded in their care. Um,
Well, I never heard it called that. I had been to a holistic doctor before. I forgot what
mhm,
they're called, but it was fascinating because he asked me about 2 hours worth of background
mhm,
and questions, pretty extensive blood tests, and then treated me more with like vitamins and exercise than medicine. And I
yeah,
thought that was way better than, just being treated for medicine because my medical doctor, like you say, you go to them and you're like, I have this one issue, and they treat it. Then you go to another doctor, I have this one issue, and they treat
yeah,
it. Holistic doctor looked at everything and said, well, you have maybe a gut issue. That's what's going on. Like, and no other doctor said that to me. So
yeah.
it's interesting to do. I never heard it called structural medicine. Is that what? Oh,
Functional
functional
medicine.
medicine?
Yeah, yeah,
Never heard. Okay, so that's like
yeah.
a holistic approach.
Very much so. Which I'll be getting certified in functional nursing as well.
I'm learning so much from you today.
I like the unbeaten path. Like we've when you've done something for so long and it doesn't really work, it's like, okay, we got to do something different. You know, our not to
But
say
you have to
that our
get the word out. You have to get the word out. How do people
yeah,
know to find you? So it's like people don't know what they don't know, right? So they
right.
don't know that they don't know these things.
Um,
They don't even know
yeah,
the questions to ask. Like when you say she didn't think about going for a blood test for hormones. Like people don't even know that's a thing. Like they're not in the
yeah,
medical field. That's why they're counting on you as the medical
yeah,
professional, right? But what you have to offer is so unique to people and it's so much better than just taking medicine. It's so much better because
yeah.
medicine affects something else adversely
Other
usually.
things. Right, right,
So that is so cool.
right.
So women, basically, I know you can help so many people. Um, what about like with ADHD? Can you help people with ADHD? Is that something that is good with nutrition and
Yeah.
exercise or
Yeah, so I do also work with, I say we, I just say nurse coaches in general, but I do also work with anxiety, depression, um,
oh,
ADHD, mental health disorders. Because same thing, you go to provider, you're given a prescription for anxiety medication, but you're also not given the tools to help you cope.
so
So I
what
work
kind of
with
things do you do for people with anxiety?
what I'm
That's
sorry.
interesting. What kind of things do you do with people with anxiety?
So we do guided imagery, we do deep breathing, also
Hmm.
working on proper coping mechanisms, which, and honestly, diet plays a big part too. There's so many things that we eat that cause us so many other mental issues, and eating unhealthily, you just don't feel good. You don't feel good. So let's make you feel better, at least in that aspect, and then work from there. Another big part of what I do is working with burnout. other clinician burnout. So whether it be nurses, EMTs, whatever, so have you. So that also is my mental health component as well. Um, a lot of mental illness you'll see is it comes deeper. There's something about the person's personality or how they cope or how they deal with things that is causing their ADHD or anxiety to be worse. So let's work through that. Let's figure out what that is and then how we can build better coping skills. So definitely
So interesting.
to
Well,
figure
I
out
think
that.
right there, that's a good niche for you, by the way. Like anxiety. I meet so many people that suffer from anxiety that
Hmm.
are on like anxiety medicines. And I'm like, then I have a girlfriend that told me that she was almost suicidal when she came off some sort of anxiety and depression medicine. I
Wow.
guess she didn't do it the right way. And I'm like, that's just crazy. That sounds really like a rough medicine to have in your
Yeah.
body if you're make you suicidal to get off of it.
Yeah.
So oh my gosh, there's so many people there that are suffering with anxiety that you can really help
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
that don't have the coping tools, that don't have the skills. And like you say, maybe some mild exercise, change of diet, can really help that, but also deep breathing, a little, you know, that's
Self
so
awareness.
cool.
That type of, yeah. Absolutely.
That is, that's awesome. Like that, I think that is a big niche for you.
Yeah.
I really
Definitely.
do. Because I hear more and more kids with this. I'm like, how do kids have so much anxiety? Like
It's
they're
sad,
so,
right? And they're kids, but have they lived yet? But yeah, they do.
I,
They do.
I don't even understand it, but I guess you do as a nurse. But I'm just like, parents need tools to help their kids cope
Yeah.
with anxiety because it just seems like if you don't have anxiety as a parent and your kids have anxiety, it's kind of hard to know what to do.
Yeah. And
And
it's
no,
just simple things.
drugs.
And yeah, and simple things as far as because the honest part of it is things like social media and things like that cause a lot of kids anxiety. Maybe limiting more of that and having more outside time, physical activity. Physical activity does so much for mental health. Um, just simple things that you can just kind of add to your daily routine that will help you manage it a little bit better. So yeah,
That's great. That's awesome.
yeah,
That's like, I think that would be a big niche for you.
yeah,
People
for
have
sure,
so much anxiety these days over everything.
for sure.
I don't know. That
Different.
seems like a buzzword. Everybody I talk to seems to like have kids or they are, and I'm like, what is with all the anxiety? Like that's like a major issue these days.
Yeah, yeah,
We just have
yeah.
Jay Hooper here. He's saying great information, Stephanie. When he's
Thank you.
listeners. So yeah,
Thank you. Yeah.
that is
So
so cool.
thank you.
So what is
Well,
your goal ultimately with your coaching company? What is your goal with your
I'd
company?
like to keep it small, only in the sense that I want to give people the time that they need. Coaching. I don't want someone to rely on me, so my coaching isn't forever. We usually do just about 4 month contracts. So we work together. If someone wants to renew, that's great. Um, but I want to build it enough that there's work life balance because that's something that I wasn't able to have before.
Mm.
Um, that I'm still able to give myself to my clients and that they can give themselves to me. So ideally, I do, if I can get big enough that someone else wants to come along and I share the load, great. But in the meantime, I'm okay with just keeping it kind of small. My goal is just to do maybe 3 or 4 days a week, 3 to 4 clients a day. That kind of gives me enough time and energy to give to them, um, and still
Well,
be
yeah,
able
because
to.
you want to get all your other certifications under wraps.
I know, I know. I love that education aspect of it. But yeah, and I want to do nursing differently. I don't want to do it like we've been doing in the past. I want to change the way that we help our clients, our patients. So,
Do you
um,
foresee going into like hospitals and training and educating nurses on a more holistic approach as well? Or maybe not hospitals, but prior to hospitals, like maybe
pro-
doctor's
yeah.
offices.
So I mainly work with patients. I think if there's anything with hospitals, I'd rather. I know my fellow nurses. I know that we don't like to get help, even though that we need it. Um, so I I want them to know that I'm here. I want them to know that I'm here and I'm here to help them and I'm here to listen to them and I'm also here to advocate for them. Um, So I haven't figured that out yet. That's something I'm working towards. Because again, like I said, I know my nurses. I've offered this service to them before, and it's like
Well,
crickets.
but to your what you said before, like once you get to a hospital, you're dealing with emergency situations.
Yeah,
You're dealing with things that already happened. Like
yeah,
you're dealing with a heart attack that already happened. You're not preventing a heart attack. So to their credit, they have to deal with the emergency situation. You're dealing
right.
with preventative. So a way to reach nurses for preventative is not at the hospital level. It's at a
Yeah,
different nursing, right? A
yeah,
different your regular doctor nurse level, your general practitioner
yeah,
levels is where we need it to be.
yeah. And I still,
So,
like I said, as nurse coaches, we help each other as well. So I still want to be there for my fellow nurses and for them to know that I'm there and here to help them. And also, once I started implementing what I was learning, it changed, because I was still working in the ER as I was going through the course. It changed the way that I cared for my patients. Um,
oh, how
it
so?
did. Prior in the emergency room, the goal is to get in and spend the least time with the patient as possible. I hate to say that, but that's the reality. I get in, I need to know what I need to know in a few seconds, minutes, get the IV and get the blood work and get out the room. That's just that's how it is. So after that course, or while I was taking it, it focused really on taking that extra minute or two to talk to your patient or let them talk. Um, by doing that, I learned so much more about them, even medically. I was like, oh, okay, you're saying this makes sense why you're going through this. Okay. Then I was able to report back to the doctor, hey, you know what? I was talking to them and they said this. Oh, really? All right,
Mm.
let's change our course of how we treat this patient. Um, Also, just them seeing you give them that extra. Let's be honest, people come in the ER, they're stressed, they have no idea what's going on. They can be a little snappy, and we can be snappy back, unfortunately.
Well,
Um,
they're usually something just happened.
yeah,
Brought them to the ER or to the OR, right?
yeah. But
And
when
they're
you
just
gave them that extra few minutes, they were like, "Thank you so much for listening to me. Thank you for
yeah.
hearing what I had to say." And it gave me a greater sense of gratification.
That that's kind of like a small holistic medicine part that you're
Yeah,
practicing. Just getting to know the patients that are looking at a chart. And I
absolutely.
think these days, what you're saying is you're given so little time to work on every patient because you have a million patients
Hmm.
that patients also feel that.
Hmm.
Like when my dad was in the hospital, I felt like, wow, there's like 35 people a day coming in. Nobody knows him. Like
Right.
everybody's different. Like you feel like you need an advocate there because there there are 20 people a day looking at you and they don't like who knows you.
No.
That's
Yeah.
so you're really getting to know the person beyond the surface.
Absolutely.
I'm sure
Absolutely.
that's why you named it that.
Absolutely.
Health and
Yeah.
wellness coach. Well, listen,
Yeah.
Stephanie, you're awesome. And I really wish you the best. This is such
Thank
a
you.
cool career. And when we go offline, I already have somebody in mind for you.
Okay.
Um, so, yeah, I think what you're doing is just fabulous. And I love that you have seen a need and gone for it.
Thank you.
Yeah, and we have somebody writing in saying in the ER and OR, you typically don't see people at their best. That's true.
No.
That was probably one of your cranky people, patients writing in. Oh, I'm
Right.
kidding.
Right. No, no, no,
That is
no.
so true. But listen, if you want to get in touch with Stephanie, who is just, I mean, this is going to take off like gangbusters. Stephanie Jennings, 302-249-1048. She's reached telehealth as well as in person. So definitely call Stephanie with your questions, concerns, and see how she may help you. Stephanie, thank you so much. I
Thank you for
really
having me.
love what you're doing. I love your energy. I love your personality. I love that you've taken one, aspect of your life and growing it
Yeah.
and helping people. That's just awesome. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank
You
you
have
so
to
much. I
come back
appreciate it.
and tell us,
Absolutely.
give us some other ideas of what we could be doing to get healthier. Thank you
Absolutely.
so much, Stephanie. Bye bye for
Thank
now.
you. Bye.
Oh my gosh. Stephanie Jennings again. It's 302-249-1048. She just has such a bright light about her and such an energy. She just really wants to help people. So give her a call if you're experiencing anything that you think you don't want to be necessarily treated with medicine for, and you think that there could be a better way. I think she'll be able to help you do that. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you next time.